My name is Lisa, and my story began with a simple chance meeting. It was an ordinary day at the university, and I was heading to class when I accidentally bumped into Jack. He was a friend of my boyfriend Mike, and we immediately hit it off. Jack was studying engineering, just like Mike, so they often spent time together discussing their projects and dreams. Over time, the three of us became inseparable. We often met after classes, went to the movies, had lunch together, and just enjoyed our youth. Mike was my boyfriend, but sometimes I noticed that Jack looked at me with interest. However, I didn't pay much attention to it, thinking it was just a friendly look. Everything changed when Mike left to serve in the Army. Jack and I continued to hang out and stay friends, but we had less in common than before. I started to notice that I missed Mike's company and his humor. We kept in touch through letters and calls, which maintained our connection. Mike was glad to hear that Jack was helping me cope with the challenges of his absence. It had been a few months since Mike left to serve in the Army. Jack and I started spending more time together than before. Our meetings were frequent and varied, from walks around the campus to long conversations over a cup of coffee. Jack was always there when I needed a distraction or just someone to talk to. But sometimes I noticed him looking at me with a strange expression. It was as if he knew or suspected something. These looks started to worry me, and I tried to act as naturally as possible to hide my anxieties. One day, I decided to meet a friend at a cafe, but I accidentally saw Jack there. He was sitting at a table and looked extremely surprised when he noticed me. His surprise turned into suspicion when he saw that I was not alone. My companion, Alex, was just a friend, but Jack seemed to think otherwise. From that moment, Jack started acting suspiciously. I felt like he was watching me, trying to figure out what was really going on. It made me tense, but I tried not to show it. However, it soon became clear that Jack had learned the truth about my meetings with Alex. One day after classes, Jack approached me with a serious expression on his face. "Lisa, we need to talk," he said, and I felt a knot tighten in my stomach. "I know you're seeing another guy," he continued, and I realized there was no point in denying the obvious anymore. When Jack said we needed to talk, I felt a slight unease. We met in the park where we could speak privately. Jack looked serious, and I realized this conversation wouldn't be easy. "Lisa, I can't ignore this anymore," he began. "I saw you with another guy. What's going on?" "Alex is just a friend," I quickly replied. "There's nothing between us." Jack sighed. "It's hard for me to believe that, but I don't want to ruin our relationship. I'll give you a chance to prove that's true." His words calmed me. The main thing was to ensure Jack didn't think there was anything between Alex and me. We agreed that I would be more careful in my actions and not give any reasons for suspicion. Soon after our conversation, I found out that Jack had started dating a girl named Emma. This didn't worry me much, as he wasn't telling anyone about his suspicions. I continued to be mindful of my actions to avoid giving Jack any more reasons to doubt me. I tried to show that there was really nothing between Alex and me. It was important for me to maintain good relations with Jack to keep things as they were. Several months had passed since Jack started dating Emma. Their relationship quickly developed and they became very close. Jack seemed to gradually forget about my mistakes and focused on his new girlfriend. It was during this time that Mike returned from his military service. His return was unexpected, and I was glad to see him again. However, he immediately noticed that Jack and I had grown distant. Mike began asking questions, and I realized that the truth would soon come to light. One evening, Jack decided to talk to Mike. I found out about it later when Mike came to see me. "Jack told me about his suspicions," he said, "but I don't believe you could have cheated on me." I felt relieved, but knew that Mike would now seek answers on his own. "I didn't do anything," I repeated. "There's nothing between Alex and me." Mike decided to find out the truth himself. He started closely watching me, checking my every move. It was stressful, but I tried to act as naturally as possible to avoid giving any reasons for doubt. Mike decided to throw a big party to celebrate his return. He invited all his friends, including Jack, Emma, and me. I tried to appear calm, but inside I was boiling. I knew Mike was watching me, so I tried to act as naturally as possible. The party started off lively. Laughter, music, conversations. However, I noticed that Jack was constantly keeping an eye on me. This began to stress me out, so I decided to step outside for some fresh air. Outside, I met Alex, who had also come to the party. We started talking, and I felt relieved to have a distraction. Alex was flirting with me, throwing compliments and hints. "You look stunning tonight," he said, leaning closer. I laughed, feeling the alcohol starting to take effect. "Thanks, Alex. You're always so charming." After a few glasses of punch, I felt more relaxed. Alex suggested we find some privacy, and after a bit of hesitation, I agreed. "Let's find a place where we can talk alone," he suggested, and I nodded. We went back into the house and headed to the bathroom. I thought I could quickly talk to him, but the situation got out of hand. I leaned against the wall, my skirt down and my underwear lying on the floor, when the door suddenly burst open and there stood Jack. Alex was standing behind me, his hands still on my waist. His eyes were blazing with anger. "What's going on here?" he shouted. All the guests, hearing the commotion, started gathering around. Jack continued, "Lisa, how could you? Mike trusted you." I tried to explain myself, but Jack wouldn't let me speak. "Everyone should know that Lisa is cheating on Mike," he yelled, and I felt the ground disappear beneath my feet. The guests looked at me with judgment, and I didn't know where to hide from the shame. It was humiliating and terrifying. Mike stood in the middle of the room, stunned and devastated. His face was pale and his eyes were filled with pain. I knew he was shocked, and I couldn't find the words to defend myself. In his eyes, I saw that he had lost trust in me. Jack approached Mike and put a hand on his shoulder. "I'm sorry you had to find out this way, but you deserve to know the truth," he said. Mike nodded, his voice quiet and broken. "Thank you, Jack. I don't know what I would have done if you hadn't told me." I couldn't stay there any longer. Tears streamed down my cheeks, and I hurried out of the house. I realized that I had lost both guys. Mike, who no longer trusted me, and Jack, who was equally disappointed. Outside the house, I found a secluded spot and let my tears flow freely. Everything I had built had crumbled in an instant. I knew I would have to start over, but at that moment, I couldn't imagine how. Meanwhile, Jack and Mike went back inside and sat down to talk. "You'll meet a good girl, Mike. I'm sure of it," Jack said, trying to comfort his friend. "It hurts now, but you'll get through this. You deserve someone who will be faithful to you." Mike nodded, his eyes filled with tears. "I hope you're right, Jack." Jack and Emma continued to build their relationship. This incident brought them even closer. They understood each other perfectly and supported each other in everything. Soon, they began making plans for a future together, knowing they could trust each other and overcome any obstacles. After that terrible party, Mike realized he needed to change something in his life. He decided to start fresh and accepted a job offer in another city. This was his chance to escape the pain and begin anew. Jack supported his decision and offered to help with the move. They packed up Mike's belongings together, and Jack tried to be there to make this difficult time easier for Mike. Finally, the day of departure arrived, and they said their goodbyes, promising to stay in touch. Mike quickly adapted to his new life. In the new city, he met a girl named Jennifer, and they started dating. Jennifer turned out to be exactly who Mike had been looking for: kind, sincere, and faithful. Their relationship developed rapidly, and Mike felt happy. Meanwhile, I, Lisa, couldn't forget Mike. I tried to reach out to him to explain and ask for forgiveness. I knew I had made a mistake and wanted to try to make things right. Finally, I mustered the courage and called him. "Hi, Mike," I began, feeling my voice tremble. "We need to talk." A cold voice answered on the other end. "Lisa, there's nothing to discuss." "Please, Mike, hear me out," I pleaded. "I made a mistake. I'm sorry for it." "Mistake?" Mike responded sarcastically. "You betrayed my trust and think an apology will fix everything? No, Lisa. We're done." But Mike, give me a chance to explain, I continued. No, Lisa, he interrupted. I don't want to hear your excuses anymore. Goodbye. With that, he hung up. I stood there in silence, realizing I had lost him forever. Mike was right. Apologies couldn't fix what I had done. I had to find a way to move on. After all the trials that Jack and Emma had gone through, they decided to start a business together. They discussed various ideas at length and finally settled on creating their own software development company. Their talents and passion for technology made this choice obvious. At first, it wasn't easy, but thanks to their perseverance and belief in each other, their business quickly gained momentum. Jack was in charge of the technical side, while Emma handled marketing and project management. Soon, they began receiving orders from major companies, and their revenues grew. Meanwhile, Mike was achieving success in his new job. He was determined to prove to himself and others that he could start over and reach great heights. His relationship with Jennifer was also going well. She supported him in everything, and they were planning their future together. Jack and Mike kept in touch, sharing their successes and news. They often called each other to discuss their achievements. Mike was happy for Jack and Emma, knowing how much they had invested in their business. Soon, Jack and Emma made an important decision. They decided to get married. Jack proposed at one of their favorite spots, a hill overlooking the city where they often spent evenings dreaming about the future. Emma, of course, said yes. The wedding was planned for the fall, and they eagerly began the preparations. Mike was invited as the best man, and he gladly accepted. Their friendship had strengthened despite all the trials. Jack and Emma's wedding celebration was in full swing. All the guests were enjoying the atmosphere of joy and love that filled the air. Jack and Emma looked happy, surrounded by friends and loved ones. Mike was the best man, and his support meant a lot to both of them. Unexpectedly, Lisa, appeared among the guests. I had been thinking for a long time about coming, hoping to reconcile with Jack and Mike and possibly make amends for past mistakes. Summoning all my courage, I approached Jack and Emma. Hi, Jack, Emma, can I talk to you? I asked, trying to appear confident. Jack and Emma exchanged glances but remained calm. Lisa, this isn't the best time, Jack said, trying to be polite. I felt a knot tighten inside. Please, I just want to apologize and make peace. I know I made a mistake. At that moment, Mike approached. His face clearly showed his displeasure. Lisa, you don't belong here. This is their day, and I won't let you ruin it. I tried to protest, but Mike was adamant. You made your choice. The past can't be undone. Leave. With these words, Mike took my hand and led me out of the hall. I felt tears welling up in my eyes. Mike was right. I left, realizing that the past couldn't be undone. I needed to move on and rebuild my life. After the wedding, Jack and Emma enjoyed their married life. Their love and understanding grew even stronger. Together, they continued to develop their business, which was gaining momentum. Each day brought new challenges, but they faced them together, supporting each other. Jack found joy in his work and in coming home to Emma every evening. Their home was filled with laughter and warmth, and they planned to expand their company, hiring new employees and opening new offices. Mike was also finding success in his new life. His relationship with Jennifer was growing stronger. She helped him learn to trust and believe in love again. Together, they made plans for the future, discussing the goals they wanted to achieve and how they would support each other. Jack and Mike remained true friends. They often called each other, sharing news and successes. Jack supported Mike in his endeavors, and Mike was happy for Jack and Emma's achievements. Their friendship had endured many trials and had only grown stronger. However, not all the main characters found their happiness so easily. Lisa struggled for a long time to recover from her terrible actions. She battled with guilt and self-hatred. Each day was a challenge for her. She realized that she had destroyed the trust of those close to her and lost them forever. It took her a lot of time and effort to begin accepting herself and trying to move forward. Over time, Lisa began to focus on self-discovery and personal growth. Gradually, she learned to forgive herself for her mistakes and strive for a better future. This process was long and difficult, but she knew it was the only path to true peace. In the end, all the main characters found their place in life. Jack and Emma continued to grow their business and build their family. Mike and Jennifer planned a future together, full of love and trust. And Lisa, slowly but surely, began the journey toward self-healing and finding inner peace.